הכי טוב. לא, בגלל שהייתי ער.
No, if you want to comment,
Okay, so today is the 7th day of Kislev, the 8th of December, and we're starting Isur Chilat Gid Nashe. So actually, I prepared it for you in English, and I didn't have time to print it because I was like completely. But I'll bring it tomorrow in English.
What is it on the net?
No, I translated it. It's not a big deal with the stuff. Okay, so Isur Chilat Gid Nashe, the prohibition of eating the sciatic nerve, page Yud Bet Amud Aleph. So he's right because this week's parsha, and this is actually the third mitzvah in the book of Bereshis in Genesis. The first two were Priya V'Rviya and Milah. Priya V'Rviya is to be fruitful and multiply, to have children. The first, what? Yud Bet. Daf Yud Bet. Yud Bet Amud Aleph. And the second is Milah, is circumcision. So we see that there is a pattern that Sefer Bereshis is called Sefer Abrit. So a lot of times it's just called Sefer Abrit. Bereshis even has the word Brit in it. Esh Brit. There's all kinds of Brit Esh. There's all kinds of different plays on it. But Brit means covenant. And the first mitzvah is with the covenant of procreation. It's having children. The second mitzvah is to circumcise the covenant of procreation. And the third mitzvah, as we'll see now, Isur Chilat Gid Nashe, prohibition of eating the sciatic nerve. On the face of it, it doesn't seem to be connected to the procreative organ, but it is, as we'll see. Okay, so he starts off with a brief review of what he wants to talk about. This is the way that he usually. We saw something similar in Shorosh Mitzvah Tefillah. He started off with a few of the sources about davening. Here he starts off with two sources regarding the sciatic nerve in Kabbalah. The one source is going to be from the Ramak, Moshe Cordovero, who was you can call it the organizer of all the Kabbalah until the Arizal, in his book Pardes Rimonim. And then he brings the Arizal from Rav Chaim Vital in Tamei Mitzvot. Okay, so let's see what he says. So it's a lot of sources in the beginning, and as we progress with this, we'll also see sources from the Gemara, because the Gemara also has a lot to say about this. Okay. So the whole story, the whole account with Yaakov ends with something that's like out of place. Torah is telling us the account of Yaakov fighting with this person all night. We don't know that it's an angel. It doesn't say it's an angel. And the Chazal say he's an angel, he's Esav's archangel. We'll see, there's all kinds of connections. But Pshat is he fought with someone all night long.
The word Ish is not often Malach.
A lot of times the Ish is a Malach, like we will see later with Yosef, that he finds Vayimtzeu Ish.
She said it's a Malach.
Right.
It's like a real, I think.
Yeah, the Pshat, the simple Pshat, if you ask Ibn Ezra, it's just someone who reads it.
Say probably a man.
It's a person that he fought with him. We'll see how this figures in. And then the Torah is like taking a step back, and because this is Moshe Rabbeinu writing this. This is not the original text, because Moshe Rabbeinu that's the Sefer Abrit that he wrote before the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. He gave them the book of the covenant. What was the book of the covenant? So most of the Parshanim, the Chazal, they say this was Sefer Bereshis. The book of Bereshis, Genesis, was written before the giving of the Torah. What did it was written? All the stories were told already. They were already written down in some form or another, or maybe orally were transmitted, whatever it was. And then Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it down the way Hashem told him to write it down. Yeah. And then he adds these words, Al-Ken, because of this whole story, that when he struggled with him, he finally, in the end, he grabbed his thigh, okay, and he vateka kaf yerech Yaakov, and the kaf of the yerech, the kaf is like apparently the what do you call it, the socket. Something happened to the socket. The socket was either moved out of its place, but he couldn't move it anymore. He was limping because of that, and he did it with his thigh, but it doesn't say which thigh. In any
Does it say
case,
which side?
no, it doesn't say which thigh. It just says in his thigh. He caught him, and the whole discussion here is going to be which thigh was it. That's the big deal here. And then, because of this, he says, "Al ken lo yechlu bnei Yisrael gidan Hashem." And because of this, the children, the Israelites, and he's referring to the Israelites in Egypt also, they don't eat. This became a tradition in Jacob's family not to eat the sciatic nerve, as a commemoration, it seems, or something like that. It's not clear why. Well, because somebody did this to you, so because of that you don't eat the sciatic nerve. What's the connection? Okay, but that's what the Torah says. That's in Genesis 32:33 in our parsha. Lavin shoresh inyan mitzvat isur gida nashe. So to understand the root, again, he uses the word root, shoresh inyan, like shoresh mitzvat tefillah. The root of the entire topic of prohibiting us from eating the sciatic nerve. Yesh להקדים מאמר הזוהר הובא בפרדס שער י"ז פרק א'. So in the Pardes, Rav Moshe Cordovero has a whole shar, he has a whole series of chapters, it's a whole discussion about what is this sciatic nerve. And in the first chapter he writes like this. He brings from the Zohar. It says in the Zohar, it's in Parshas Pinchas actually, Hu tzolea lirecho, and he was limping on his thigh. Da'ihu netzach Yisrael. This is the eternity of Israel. But you understand that the word netzach tells us right away that the Zohar thinks it's the right side, because netzach is the right side. Yerecho, says the Zohar, how do I know that this is the netzach Yisrael, that this is the victory, the netzach of Israel? Because it says yirecho. It says his thigh. Velo yirechav, and not his thighs. So when a regular person reads this, when you don't understand the way of thinking in Kabbalah, it sounds like, how did you prove from this that it's the right side? All you proved that it's not both sides. How did you prove from this that this is the right side? Why would this be the case? And to impress the point on us, the Zohar continues, "Dat darga revia." This is the fourth level. Where are we talking about? What's the fourth level? So apparently from Chesed. Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach. Netzach is the fourth sphera from Chesed. Meaning in Za, it's the fourth sphera. Meaning in the Zer Anpin. Velo itna b'mitaman. And then the Zohar moves on to something completely different. Lo itna b'mitaman barnash ada'at Shmuel Neviah. And no person was able, no prophet was able to receive prophecy from this place until Shmuel, Samuel the prophet, came along. And that's why Samuel says, he says this to Saul, after Saul doesn't kill Agag, the king of Amalek, he says to him that you will pass, and the eternity of Israel will not flounder, or it won't lie, meaning it won't be cut off. It's eternal. Netzach Yisrael is eternal; it won't change. So, how did we suddenly get to Samuel?
Someone coming to say, well, this is one thing.
And why are you talking about suddenly prophecy? But this is the way the Zohar thinks. So obviously the Zohar is a very, as we say, it's a cryptic text. You have to follow its logic. Why do you come from this to this? What the association and all? So obviously the external association is the phrase Netzach Yisrael, the eternity of Israel, the victory of Israel. That won't ever change. Okay, but why Samuel? So the first thing, whenever you look at the Zohar, the first thing you do is a gematria, because if you don't do gematria, you don't understand how it's thinking. The Zohar doesn't tell us the gematria that it's doing. They're behind the surface. But the very simple gematria, right away that you do, you see it says here, Gida Nashe. How much is Gida Nashe equal? It's 377. Right? So what's 377? It's equal to Shmuel. Right away. If you don't think this way, you don't see the deep undercurrent that's going on. There's a deep undercurrent. The undercurrent is Gid and Sheh equals Israel. And also, remember, we don't know this guy is related to Esav in any way. How much is Esav equal to? So Esav is 376. So it's very common in Kabbalah to do 376 plus the Kolo is 377. And it's very simple,
Yeah, the
right away. So right away, just you do the gematras, you right away see stuff. Now, 377 is a very famous number in Torah. It's a big deal. But in number theory, it's not so well known. Most people don't know number theory well enough. For this, you have to know a little bit. But 377 is a Fibonacci number, what we call love numbers. Okay. What are love numbers? You start with 1, 1. You really can start anywhere, but you start 1, 1, and then you do 1 plus 1 equals 2. And then the last two numbers, 1 plus 2 equals 3, 2 plus 3 equals 5, 3 plus 5 equals 8. And then there's 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, 233, and 377. If you don't know what 377 is, you wouldn't know that. Like, well, what's the connection? Why are we even talking about these numbers? Did the Zohar know these numbers? Did it care about these numbers? We'll see in the continuation, then you'll decide if in some way they knew this or didn't know this. So when Samuel said this, he said this to Saul, this was when this level of prophecy, this netzach which until then was weak, from the time that Yaakov was fighting with the archangel of Esav and he touched his thigh, that's when it was fixed. When Shmuel said this, begin migufa, because the thigh is outside the body. Why? And inside the body it's easier. What are you saying? You're saying that he couldn't touch his body himself. Where's Yaakov? Yaakov himself is Zah. Yaakov is the Zer Anpin, he's the body. So he couldn't touch Yaakov himself. That's what the Zohar is trying to say. He could only touch the extension of the body, where the body extends. Where does the body extend? So it's either the hands, but the hands are Chesed and Gvura. They're too close to the body. But Netzach and Hod and Yesod, especially foundation, as we'll see, this is all connected in the end to foundation. The Gid, Stam, when you say Gid, you mean Yesod, the procreative organ. So that he could touch, the extension.
That's one of the Gidim.
Right? The Gid, when you say the Gid.
But the Gid is normally very hard.
Yeah, right. But they call it a Gid.
Really?
Because Gid has three meanings.
Yeah, a Gid is the Aver?
If you just say Gid, Stam, in Chazal, Gid is the Aver.
In the Gemara, there's a whole question about Noten Tam, no Noten Tam.
Right.
Gid and Rashi. Aver suddenly is Noten Tam.
No, something else entirely. I'm just saying that when you read this, Gid right away is Yesod. So any way you churn it, we'll see that in the end this is related somehow to foundation, to Yesod. But the question is just which side here is hurting, which side is not working. And the pshat of the Zohar, the simple thinking here is he couldn't touch Yaakov himself, so he could only touch his extension. Yaakov himself was too strong. But the extension you could get to. Okay, so we'll continue B'ezrat Hashem tomorrow and start seeing what's going on here.